Got some NFL news and some free agency updates that pertain to the New Orleans Saints. 2015 first-round pick by New Orleans, Andrus Peat, is visiting with the Tennessee Titans, as well as Marcus May. Welcome into Saints Now by Chat Sports. My name is Trey Stroud. We're going to break down all of this, as well as some draft rumors on the back end of today's video, so be sure to stay tuned for the whole video. All right, let's talk about Andrus Peat, because this is a guy who, back in 2015, like I said, he was a 13th overall pick. New Orleans really liked him. Dare I say they liked his bubble butt. Didn't want to do it. Had to slip that one in there, giggity. But, you know, this is a guy who he has some versatility, played guard, played tackle, filled in nicely at tackle for Trevor Penning because Penning was benched. He hasn't been good. And to be honest, the Saints have been looking for their left tackle to take over ever since Teron Armstead left in free agency a few years ago. The production has been, like, extremely underwhelming for a first-round pick. But, like I said, when he moved from guard to tackle, he actually held up pretty well. But I will say one thing. I'm okay with letting Andrus Peat walk. To be honest, it's just not been good enough for me. And I, at the end of the day, I want to get younger. I want to get cheaper. I want to get more talented. And the way to do that is through the draft. And when you look at how the depth chart currently shakes out, Trevor Penning being your left tackle, I think I'm okay. I'm going to pass there, to be honest. James Hurst took a pay cut, so shout out to him for that. Eric McCoy, he actually was pretty good and ranked very highly among all centers in the NFL, according to PFF. Cesar Ruiz got paid. Probably should be in jail for highway robbery because this guy stunk last year. Ryan Ramczyk, he's a talented player, has had some injury issues. He's also climbing the age column, so maybe this is one of those situations. You draft a left tackle, move Penning over to the right tackle side, or maybe even interior to the guard spot. I don't really know what to do with Trevor Penning because he stinks. And to be honest, you need somebody better there at that left tackle position. Now, in terms of some draft targets, this is where I would go in terms of building the depth chart. I would address the left tackle in the draft. I would like to see Taliese Fuaga or Troy Fautanu. I think both of those could be excellent fits for what the New Orleans Saints are doing offensively. J.C. Latham has been a popular name among NFL mock drafts towards the Saints. And Olu Fashanu, a really talented player coming out of Penn State. And my number one guy is Joe Alt, but I do not see a world where the New Orleans Saints are going to be able to get Joe Alt. I think he's the first offensive lineman off the board in April. But I want you guys to pick an offensive lineman for me. Would you rather have Andrus Peat? Or would you rather draft somebody? So just type AP for Andrus Peat and bringing him back in free agency. Type D for draft and let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Now, my two top picks, I would say, are Joe Alt and Troy Fautanu. I love Joe Alt. I mean, this guy is ready to make a positive impact right now. Like, you could put him in right this second, and he will be an upgrade at the left tackle position. I also really like Troy Fautanu. I think he can be an excellent fit schematically for how Clint Kubiak is going to run the new offense. But like I said a little bit ago, Joe Alt will be the first offensive line drafted, and whether it's to Tennessee or to another team that needs some offensive line help, I think that that's something that we all need to understand and consider. I don't hate the idea of a Taliese Fuaga. I like the idea of a J.C. Latham. I like the idea of an Olu Fashanu. In my personal opinion, the first-round pick needs to be an offensive lineman. No questions asked. And don't shoot the messenger here. I know that it's not the sexy pick. I know that it's not a quarterback. I know it's not a wide receiver. I know a lot of Saints fans have a sour taste in their mouth from that Trevor Penning selection with the first-round offensive lineman. But it's a necessary pick, and that is the way that the Saints need to go in order to get younger, in order to get cheaper, in order to get talent that can be around for a long time as opposed to just a couple of seasons. So I think that the Saints should address the offensive line in round one. I'm sorry it's not a quarterback. I'm sorry it's not a wide receiver. I'm just trying to be realistic in terms of what the Saints should be targeting. And why I think it shouldn't be a defensive line, I'm going to get to that here in just one moment. But before we move on, I encourage you to subscribe today because we do it all here at Saints Now by Chat Sports. We do free agency coverage. We bring you draft coverage. We bring you game day coverage during the football season. And then, of course, we do so much more. So I encourage you to subscribe. It's 100% free. Join the almost 27,000 members of the Dat Nation we have here. 100% free. If you love the Saints, lock us in. So I went offensive lineman. I keep talking about that because this update just came in a few minutes ago, and I think it's a really positive update. Chase Young from Nick Underhill, he is visiting with New Orleans, and the visit is today. The pass rusher had to reschedule it last week. He was originally slotted to be on Friday, but moved on or rescheduled to today, and he left Carolina without a deal. He was supposed to meet with the Titans today, but that meeting with New Orleans is happening today, so I think that the Titans will have their meeting in the future, probably in the next day or two. But here's my thing. Chase Young should be a Saint. Like, I understand everyone's concerns. This might be a Marcus Davenport 2.0, or this might be the name brand Marcus Davenport, or this guy is high risk or low risk, high reward, blah, 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 blah. There's so many thoughts and there's so many opinions that differ amongst Saints fans. But for me, I think that this is a good move for New Orleans. I think that he could be a strong value pick. I think that he could offer a little bit of versatility and some new speed, some new strength, some new life in New Orleans for the defensive line group that did struggle last season and at the end of the day was very lackluster. Chase Young has very high upside. He has a very high ceiling. He never quite panned out the way that a number 2 overall pick should. But let's not forget, just a few years ago, this guy was the 2020 Defensive Rookie of the Year. I think Chase Young could be a good addition in New Orleans. And to be honest, if anyone can bring the best out of a player who's kind of on the decline, I think Dennis Allen actually has a good shot. But I want to keep talking about Chase Young here in just one moment. But before we do, we got some jerseys from Fanatics that I wanted to throw your way so you can get geared up at chatsports.com/Saints jerseys. We got men's, we got women's, we got kids, we got the home, we got the away, we got color rush. We got everything. So if you guys want to get geared up, go to chatsports.com/Saints jerseys. Chris Olave, he changed his number to number 2. Fanatics doesn't have those jerseys yet, but the minute that they do, we'll be letting you guys know so you can get geared up with the brand new Chris Olave jersey. But guys, go get yourself a jersey for a Saints legend. Go get yourself some stuff. Chatsports.com/Saints jerseys. Link is in the comment section and in the description of this video. All right, now let's talk about the NFL draft because New Orleans, as of right now and at the time of filming this video, they have 3 top 30 visits scheduled. So, who are those players? Well, it's nothing that's going to jump out at the screen. Like, I'm sure you guys are looking at this and thinking, who? Who the hell are these guys on my screen? To be honest, I don't blame you. But I'm going to tell you about each one of these guys, starting off with Marshawn Kneeland. Now, this player, he's big. 6'3", 275 pounds. I think that he could be an excellent addition to the Saints defensive line. And on top of that, he is a guy that could be a really effective defensive end. 57 tackles, 7.5 tackles for loss, 4.5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles. This is a guy I would not go and pick right away early in the draft. Back end of the draft, why not? I think it could be a really nice addition to the defensive line. But Marshawn Kneeland is meeting with the New Orleans Saints. But let's kick it over to Christian Boyd, the defensive tackle out of Northern Iowa. And in 2023, he had 43 tackles, 6.5 of those were for a loss, 3.5 sacks. He is 1 quarterback hit, and then his measurables at 6'4", 317 pounds. And he is projected to be a 3rd or 4th round selection. Now, I think either of these two guys would be pretty solid. However, the only problem is the Saints don't have a 3rd or 4th round pick, so that might make it kind of tough to select him. However, you can package together some of those comp picks that you got in the 5th round or try and move back, try and move forward. There's a handful of ways you can add to this defensive line depth chart in the draft. But before I talk about the last player, I want you guys to pick an edge rusher for me. Would you rather go Chase Young, or would you rather draft a guy like Jared Verse, like a Laiatu Latu? I know those are 2 names that are red hot around New Orleans Saints fans. So this is your opportunity to let me know. Go get a Jared Verse, Laiatu Latu, or whatever draft edge rusher you like. Or do you want to go sign Chase Young and address it in free agency, get some veteran experience in the locker room? This is your chance to let me know. But let's kick it over to the most intriguing name in the top 30 visits scheduled right now, and that is Dylan Laube. He's a running back out of New Hampshire, and look at the production on your screen. 158 carries, 715 rushing yards, 9 touchdowns on the ground, 4.5 yards per carry. And then on top of that, he is a dual threat phenom. Like, this guy is insane. 68 catches, almost 700 yards, 7 touchdowns, and a relative athletic score of 8.74. And on top of that, at the combine, his broad jump was 13th. His vertical jump was 7th. His 3-cone drill was 3rd. And in terms of the running backs, the 20-yard shuttle was 1st, but it was tied 3rd among all positions across the NFL and the NFL draft. And his bench press tied for 5th. I mean, this guy is a talented player. He has so much upside, but I don't think that the Saints are going to be able to take him late day 3. I think that's going to be a pick that needs to be made earlier on day 3 / maybe trade back in day 2 or trade up into day 2 to select a player of this caliber. I like the idea of drafting Dylan Laube. However, there is something to consider in terms of you have some running backs, maybe you don't add one this draft class. But in terms of a player I really, really like, and I honestly would love to see New Orleans add this guy into their top 30 mix. Hasn't really been any buzz around him in the Saints. Hasn't really been discussed as a draft target for New Orleans. But I really like Darius Robinson. And our draft expert here, Tom Downey, he compares him to Cameron Jordan, just maybe a little bit less athletic. But the numbers and the production for the Mizzou Tigers were really solid. 43 tackles, 14 tackles for loss, 8.5 sacks, and a forced fumble. And when this guy showed up to the Senior Bowl, I'm not kidding, his biceps looked like they were the size of my head. And I have a massive cranium, so that's something that's pretty good news to me. Wrinkly brain, massively wrinkly brain. No smooth brains allowed on this channel. But Darius Robinson, this guy, dude, just look up picture and look up the tape. It's unbelievable. But name a player that you want New Orleans to draft, whether it's in the 1st round, 2nd, they don't have a 3rd or 4th, one of the 5th round, 6th round selections. I want you guys to let me know. Name a player at any point in the draft you want to see the New Orleans Saints select. And as always, y'all stay golden. We'll see you next time.